platform isn't just about its mobility though, it's all about its survivability too, and in modern artillery warfare, as we've seen in Ukraine, this really demands rapid deployment and quick exits. Drones and counter-battery radar have really made traditional emplacements almost obsolete. We don't have regiments of artillery sitting in place for long periods of time now, particularly in Ukraine, because it doesn't take long for a drone to come find you. And counter-battery artillery fire, as we've talked about many times on this channel, is very sophisticated in tracking projectiles back to their originator and firing back at them. But if you have a platform that is basically firing on the move, it's making it near impossible for counter-battery systems to find it. Combine this with the extended range and precision range ammunition in 155mm that's available, you've got a system that's actually totally rewriting the rules of engagement and tactics used by modern artillery. And let's talk a little bit about the actual engineering into this marvel itself. It can be mounted in two different configurations, the 10x10 Piranha platform or the 8x8 Boxer, which I have a strong connection and passion for as well because it is supporting the modern infantry fleet for the British Army, both renowned for their off-road capabilities and rugged reliability. These vehicles are certainly one of the best platforms, I would say, to put this kind of gun platform onto. And you're probably wondering, why am I so excited about this particular gun platform? Well, as many of you may know, the artillery is the king of battle. I'm a proud gunner myself, but the weapon of the artillery is actually the projectile. Yes, the projectile is classified in the artillery as the weapon, not the firing of the projectile from the gun. And as you know, the projectile is in extreme demand across the world. There is so much ammunition being used, particularly 155mm ammunition, and we're seeing such huge sophisticated advancements with ammunition, projected range of up to 76 kilometers. You'd want something that accompanies all these fancy new ammunitions with a platform that can utilize them properly. Things like Excalibur, all the precision guidance and long-range ammunition. If you can put it into a weapon system that can fire and not be found, that's game-changing. It completely redefines artillery of today. And the exciting thing about this platform is not only can it turn into an indirect fire platform, but it can also turn into somewhat of a tank. And unlike traditional artillery, this platform doesn't just rely on stabilization legs like the Caesar does, and its turret can fire 360 degrees and turn into a hunter-killer capability as well, so that in a pinch, if you get engaged, you can actually fire as a tank a 150mm round at your target, pop smoke and pull out of there, protecting the vehicle even more and increasing that survivability. And that's a level of versatility we don't typically see in self-propelled artillery platforms in real configuration. The mere fact that it can fire at any angle, at any point of the gun platform at 360 degrees without having to set up legs is incredible. At a cost of 12 million euros per unit, it's certainly a hefty investment though. But what are you getting for that? I mean, you're getting automation, mobility, versatility, survivability, and it's a price tag I think in modern artillery is something you're going to want to pay for. You're making a worthy investment. It's a bit of a statement about where modern artillery is heading. So let's get a little bit deeper into what this vehicle is all about. So the vehicle has gained its most significant attention following a request in July 2022 by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense for 18 units valued at approximately 216 million euros or 226 million US dollars. These systems are expected to bolster Ukraine's artillery capabilities with deliveries planned for 2025. Meanwhile, the Bundeswehr began testing the RCH-155 in February 2023, marking its potential adaptation into the broader NATO artillery operations. Derived from the highly respected Panzerblitz 2000 system, the RCH-155 pairs proven artillery firepower with a very formidable wheeled platform. This flexible and protected long-range artillery system measures 10.4 meters in length, 2.99 meters in width, and 3.6 meters in height, and a combined weight fully loaded at 39 tons, it's able to be utilized upon low-weight bridges and, of course, rail flats or driving itself across long distances without a huge amount of fuel consumption. It accommodates just a crew of 2 members and a testament to its emphasis on automation and efficiency. It integrates the Artillery Gun Module, or AGM, a fully automatic turret onto the Boxer chassis, an armoured wheel platform renowned for its mobility. Now, the Artillery Gun Module system is very modular, and it is a network-based architecture which offers potential upgrades like autonomous driving and remote-controlled operations, basically turning this vehicle into its own RC artillery gun. future-proofing the platform for potential evolving battlefield needs. As we probably know, though, we're not going to have remote-controlled artillery for the near future, but it could happen, allowing, if they want to upgrade this system to turn into a drone artillery platform, which again, never heard of. We don't have drone artillery. We have drone tanks, drone armored personnel carriers, drone reconnaissance vehicles. Very rarely do we hear of something that is autonomous and fully remote controlled in a 155mm setup. And it's really pushing for minimal human input even with it not being remote controlled. It is equipped with systems to provide fire control, ballistic calculation, and precise navigation on the move prior to even getting to the position, allowing it to basically consider where it needs to shoot, go to that location, and as soon as it stops, fire, and off it goes again. There is absolutely no requirement to mess around with target calculation like I have to do when we get into a gun position. It is all done straight away for you in any conditions, any weather. And the vehicle does have some nice features inside of there to keep the crew happy. It's got heating and cooling systems. It can be upgraded with armor packages on the side, similar to the Boxer system, where if you want to put modular armor on there, you can, but for the most part it's pretty protective against 14.5mm or fragmentation or shrapnel ammunition from artillery that could be coming against it, but at this point I don't think it's even going to be able to be found before it even gets around towards it. It does have a built-in test equipment to maintain its operational readiness, because it does have a lot of technology in there. You'd want something that puts you ready to go if it's crucial in a high-pressure scenario, with a test system that basically runs the whole system for a quick blanket test to make sure everything's operational instead of going through checklists, because the more tech you put in something like an artillery piece, the less time it is actually getting into a fire mission. At the core of its firepower is the NATO-compliant 155mm reliable L-52 main gun. This gun can fire up to 9 rounds per minute, reaching targets and ranges of up to 40 kilometers just with standard ammunition. And the extended range capabilities are even more impressive, reaching up to 54 kilometers using advanced projectiles like the Volcano and the Excalibur. The combat load includes 30 ready-to-fire projectiles and 144 modular propelling charges, giving it significant staying in the power of the firefight or ammunition. And you're probably wondering, why does it have 30 projectiles and 144 modular charges? It doesn't make sense. Well, each charge is added to that projectile, giving it further range. So if you're firing at 54 kilometers, you're obviously going to need to add 4 or 5 or whatever max of charge you need inside of there. It doesn't need to match 1-to-1. It's not like a tank round. But logistics is key. So these things are going to need to be fed quite often. 30 rounds actually isn't a huge amount of ammunition, but for a self-propelled gun, yeah, it's really not too bad. I mean, you don't need to be firing more than 30 rounds in a straight fire mission, because you're going to have a battery of these vehicles working together. And even if you did need to fire all 30 rounds, you're going to be able to get in and out of there fairly quickly to resupply at a moving resupply with ammunition somewhere else. So I don't really worry too much about its ammunition capacity. I think 30 is a formidable setup, but it does have the ability to fire multiple round simultaneous impact, or MRSI. This isn't new. Many other platforms do this, even on the older platforms today, where several rounds are fired in quick succession and hit a target simultaneously. This feature alone adds a level of tactical flexibility that most artillery systems don't really perfect. But when you add on top of this the multiple round simultaneous impact firing on the move, you're turning one self-propelled artillery platform to stand alone as if it's firing from 5 or 6 different guns. Basically, the enemy thinks that there's an entire artillery regiment out there, where it's basically just 4 weapon systems firing in different angles of adjustment of the gun to make sure that the rounds all hit the same point of impact at the time of which they were fired from the gun. It's incredible to have multiple rounds in the sky and all land at the same point from just firing at different angles and different timings. It's all trajectory and ballistics. Blows my mind how, the computers and technology can keep up with stuff like that, but added on the move, it really is very, very exciting for me as an artillery gunner. I think it's incredible, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it. There's so much fight back against rocket artillery and traditional artillery, but I think this is actually starting to push back on rocket artillery and saying, yeah, we have a bit of a game changer here. With a 2-man crew, I think it's pretty obvious to say it has its own automated loaded system for both the projectile and charges, and fuses as well, combining it all together in an advanced gun laying technology, ensuring that it can fire the gun quickly and very efficiently. There's nothing worse than having to swap fuses, adjust bag charges, etc. The gun does it all for you. There's even an option, as I mentioned before, as a direct laying capability using integrated optronics for precision targeting on the flat trajectories, basically turning it into somewhat of a tank destroyer with 360 degrees of engagement. It is a 155mm tank if it wanted to be. In terms of mobility, it is powered by an MTU V8 199T221 engine with a capacity of 600 kilowatts or 816 horsepower. That is a beast of an engine. It boasts a top speed of 100 kilometers an hour on road and can cover more than 700 kilometers on a single tank of fuel. Normal NATO standard during the Cold War was 500 kilometers. Most British Army vehicles anyway had to achieve a 500 kilometer range. This vehicle can push out to 700 kilometers, and it needs to, because in today's battlefield, when you're having projectiles that can push out 56 kilometers or potentially further, you want to extend its legs, get it around the battlefield, utilize those flanks, and truly do what artillery needs to do, which is a massive standoff indirect fire weapon. And with having the fuel range, you give it the ability to resupply, to transition shoot and scoot, to maybe a more standard battery where it's just firing in an placed position. There's so much opportunity with an extended range fuel tank like that, allowing you to go wherever you need it to go. Its off-road capability is also very impressive, with a ground clearance of half a meter and the ability to ford water depths of up to 2 meters. The vehicle can handle steep gradients, side slopes, and even climb up steps of 0.8 meters high, similar to that of a bloody tank, making it highly versatile in various terrains. One of the most groundbreaking aspects, though, is of course that firing in motion. This was demonstrated publicly during a live firing event at the Klitz military training area in Germany. Artillery experts confirmed that this was likely a first ever done, with a 155mm howitzer. While smaller systems like mortars have achieved this capability, applying it to a system of this size and firepower has been unprecedented. This innovation really reduces the system's vulnerability to counter-battery radar, and it can fire and reposition almost simultaneously, making it incredibly difficult to target, even for drones. Additionally, the RCH-155 features the hunter-killer capability for direct fire engagements and even has its own optronic tracker similar to that of a CITV or Commander's Independent Thermal Viewer, like a tank. So it can actually have the commander searching for targets and the operation of the gun from the second in command of the vehicle, the driver, in that two-man crew. And by integrating a remote weapon system, it can even protect itself from targets that are around the area that may be dismounted, to allow them to fire the main gun automatically from one person and defend the gun from something else in the distance with a remote weapon system like a 50 caliber or a 7.62mm machine gun. This capability was also demonstrated during the live firing test, showcasing the system's versatility in both direct and indirect fire, as well as protecting itself from any insurgency roles that are trying to take out the vehicle in a dismounted or infantry setting. And with all this excitement, of course, the system has attracted huge interest from several nations in the artillery world. During the live demonstration, representatives from the German Army, the British Army, and procurement officials from other countries, including Qatar, were present, and they were very impressed. Both Germany and the UK are exploring the potential for new artillery systems, and Germany sees the RCH-155 as a complement to the Panzerblitz 2000, while the British Army is strongly considering the replacement for its aging AS-90 systems. The RCH-155 is a technological achievement for the artillery world. It's a response to an evolving nature of warfare where speed, mobility, and automation are more critical than ever, and in the ever-growing demand of drone attack, which is just becoming so predominantly known in the tanking world, artillery is no exception to this. While it comes as a huge price tag of 12 million euros per unit, its advanced capabilities really do offer significant tactical advantages for artillery that could justify the investment in the right scenarios. So there you have it, folks, a comprehensive look at this platform. I would love to know what you think of this particular vehicle. Is this the future of self-propelled artillery? Is firing on the move? Is it being somewhat of a tank destroyer as a secondary, the key part of modern artillery? But I would say very incremental step. And I do think this is going to be the future of artillery. I think we're going to stop begging into the world of rocket artillery so much and start looking at traditional projectiles, the weapon of the artillery, into a sort of more technologically advanced setup where we can fire on the move, where we can multiple round simultaneous impact fire on the move, where we can have the ability to defend the gun platform if we have to, not just with the gun itself, but remote weapon systems, being able to move 700 kilometers around the battlefield is huge for you as well. I know that's kind of a small side note, but it's big. It is big because you don't need to worry about the rest of the battle group. You can go wherever you want at 700 kilometers. You're not having to be protected by armored battle groups, infantry carriers. You're your own standalone regiment, standalone battery, can go just about everywhere. And with the extended range ammunition, I mean, this thing is just deadly. And as always, as an artillery gunner, I'm always going to say artillery is the king of battle. But what do you know? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinion. Thanks again so much for joining me today. It means a lot. The algorithm's always against me, so if you could give me a huge support in just leaving me a comment, leave me a little like, and if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It really does help me go into my own little passion and project of YouTube and give you more content for the future. Thanks again, folks, and have a wonderful day. All the best.
And then you slap him like that, right? And then you give him a ram. Doesn't let you turn him on his side. He's going backwards now. Okay, alright. So, look at that. Oh, he's gone finally. Jeez. The M113 took him out right there. Gotta farm the bots over here.
Welcome back, everyone. It's me, Matt. Thanks so much for joining me. We're looking at some Swedish self-propelled guns today. No, not the Archer, which is a video I have done before and one of my favorite self-propelled guns. But this unique and kind of peculiar-looking SPG is a bit of a Swedish Cold War relic, and Sweden is known for its innovation in military engineering. They make a lot of good equipment, and this is no exception. Of course, I have a strong connection to the Swedish Armed Forces military equipment because I do love the CV90. I've worked with BAE Systems and playing with it, but this one would certainly be something I'd love to see up close and personal. This is a self-propelled gun that is quite iconic in its setting and the way in which it operates, which is a little bit more different to most self-propelled guns at the time. From the iconic Stridsvagn 103S tank to cutting-edge Gripen fighter jets, Sweden has never shielded away from kind of pushing those boundaries, I would say, of military technology. But before we get into the details of this video today, what's your favorite self-propelled gun? Let me know in the comment section below. It can be of any kind, modern or older. I'd love to hear your opinion. Today, folks, we are talking about the Bandkanon 1, which is just a beast. And the way in which it operates, I do for sure think it is one of the most cool self-propelled guns out there. And I never really heard of it before until I actually started playing War Thunder. But Sweden built one of the fastest firing self-propelled auto-loading artillery pieces in history. The Bandkanon 1 is a beast of a machine, capable of firing 14 rounds in under 48 seconds. An artillery system that's so fast, it can unload its entire magazine before the first shell even hit the target. It was developed during the Cold War, which was Sweden's answer to a rapidly evolving battlefield. With no multiple rocket mortar systems in service, the Swedish military sought an alternative way to deliver devastating firepower quickly, accurately, and efficiently. What they ended up with was a self-propelled gun unlike anything else, boasting a very revolutionary for its time autoload system that enabled a unmatched rate of fire for its time and for the caliber of round it was firing. To truly understand the Bandkanon 1, we need to go back to 1949, a time where Sweden was completely rethinking its approach to artillery. A fortress with unparalleled
Playing a couple low tier matches until the tier 9 queue builds up. And I like training my low level tanks as well, as you can see. Level 4 crews on these guys. Level 6 crew on the M51. The only one of two
Hello again, one and all. It's me, Matt. Thanks so much
premiums
for
at tier
joining me
2
today on the
in the
channel.
game.
Before we begin, I have to take a moment to acknowledge there is ongoing conflict and war in the region that this particular vehicle is being utilized in. I want to make it clear that this video is focused purely on the military hardware, the engineering, and its context in how it's featured and the abilities that it has. My goal is always to remain neutral and objective when discussing military vehicles, and I have no intention of making political statements or offending anyone, and I'm not allowed to anyway with the way in which I operate with my social media policy in the Canadian Armed Forces. The name APC is what we're talking about today, and it's a fascinating piece of engineering, and this discussion today will be centered on its design, development, and capabilities rather than the ongoing conflicts involved with things like Palestine and the Gaza Strip. So today, we're diving into this world of Israeli armored warfare, specifically looking at one of the most heavily armored personnel carriers on the planet, the Nama, or Nama. I'm really not sure which way to say it. This vehicle isn't just an armored box on tracks, though. It's a fortress on wheels and an absolute beast in modern infantry transport. But to understand why Israel built such
like
a well-protected APC, we have to go back in time and examine
2v2
battlefield
at
challenges
least.
that led to its creation. Israel's
Probably
approach to
2v2.
armored vehicles has always been driven by necessity. As a small nation surrounded by its own adversaries, every soldier's life is invaluable. Unlike larger countries that can sustain heavier casualties, Israel must ensure its troops can fight, survive, and return home for another battle. For decades, the backbone of the Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, armored personnel transports were the American-made M113 APC with some modifications. While it is truly a great utility vehicle in the 1960s and 70s, it quickly became obsolete in the face of modern threats. Urban warfare, ambushes, and widespread use of RPGs and anti-tank missiles have exposed many of the M113's fatal flaws. It was a little more than a rolling aluminum box with barely enough armor to even soften small arms of fire. By the 1980s, Israeli forces faced increasingly large amounts of casualties, especially in conflicts with Lebanon, and the IDF quickly realized that a new approach was needed, one that prioritized survivability over everything else. Instead of designing an APC from scratch, though, they took a unique approach, repurposing the outdated tank chassis into a heavily armored personnel carrier. The first attempts included the Nagmashon, based on the Centurion tank, and the Ashsarit, built on the Soviet-captured T-55 tanks. These vehicles offered significantly better protection than the M113, but they also had many limitations. Their rear engine design made troop dismounts awkward and unsafe in battle, and the space inside was still very cramped. The perfect solution, though, was really hiding in plain sight. The beautiful Merkava main battle tank. Unlike most tanks, the Merkava was designed with its engine in the front, creating a natural rear compartment that could be used to store ammunition or troops. The idea of converting older Merkavas into APCs was first explored in the 1990s, but at the time, budget constraints prevented the project from moving forward. However, things changed in the early 2000s. Asymmetric warfare in Gaza and Lebanon became the growing threat. The IDF needed a modern, heavy-duty APC capable of transporting troops safely through RPG-infested streets and mine-laden battlefields. In 2005, the first prototype of what would become the Nama, or Namara, or Lioness, was unveiled, based on the Merkava Mark I chassis. While the idea, though, was very promising, Israel ultimately decided that using the newer Merkava Mark IV as the foundation for the dedicated APC was a much smarter choice, and I would agree, why not just use a newer platform? Thus, in 2008, the Nama was officially born. It wasn't just an upgraded version, though, of the previous heavy-duty APCs. It was a purpose-built armored transport specifically for the infantry, designed from the ground up, with the best protection the IDF could offer for its troops inside. Most APCs and infantry fighting vehicles are built from scratch, using different design philosophies
Farming
than
the
main battle
bots.
tanks. But Israel had a very unique advantage. The Merkava tank series was well tested, well designed, and worked very well for troops on the ground, and in essence was already a bit of a troop carrier.
If you're
Now, in
new
2005, Israel
later
tested the first
in a
prototype
match
of the
or a
APC.
few
It was
matches,
based on the Merkava Mark I chassis,
I'll
but
switch
early
to
designs
tier
proved
9
that the concept
probably
worked,
right
but
after
there were
this
significant
match,
challenges. The older
you
structure
can
made mass
expect
production very
7v7s
costly, and Israel's defense industry
usually at
moved
this
on to
time.
the Merkava Mark IV. So, in 2008, they unveiled the Nama and officially use the Mark
Alright.
IV's hull, and unlike its predecessor, this was specifically designed for
our
mass
human
production,
being on the
featuring
enemy,
an upgraded
on
engine,
our team,
modular armor,
is
and the
still
latest
alive.
updated systems. To turn the tank into an APC,
So I'm
Israel
gonna
had to
go
make
over
several
for where he is.
modifications. The turret was obviously
And
moved
we'll
significantly,
probably wait for
reducing
these
weight.
guys to
A
push.
reinforced ramp was added, allowing troops to exit quickly and recover. Extra armor was applied to maintain the same level of protection as the main battle tank. The seating was designed for up to 12 occupants, including crew and infantry. And the Trophy Active Protection System was integrated for enhanced defense against anti-tank weapons, which, as you probably all know, Trophy is one of the best APS systems in the world. The result, a vehicle just as armoured as the Mark IV Macabre, but now capable of transporting an entire infantry squad into combat. The Namer is often described as the mobile bunker, and for good reason. While most armoured personnel carriers prioritise mobility, the Namer takes a different approach. It prioritises survivability above all else. But let's break down a little bit as to why this is the toughest combat transport in the world. It does have advanced composite armor, which is obviously classified, designed to resist kinetic and shape charge attacks from all angles. That's right, not just the front, the sides, but also the rear. It has explosive reactive armor, which can be added on and removed, which neutralizes incoming RPGs and anti-tank missiles when they hit. And unlike most tracked fighting vehicles, it has a slight given V-shaped hull, which help deflect mine blasts when IEDs or mines being rolled over. Despite, though, its massive weight of 60 to 65 tons, it maintains full protection across all angles, including, as I mentioned, the rear, but also the roof, making it one of the safest vehicles for urban combat, which is particularly where this vehicle shines. The thickness of armor truly isn't where this vehicle stands out. Its best advantage is the integration with the active protection system, the Trophy, from Rafael Advanced Defense Systems. It detects, tracks, and destroys incoming projectiles with great results, including RPGs and anti-tank missiles from top-down attack. This is a very prominent system. It pinpoints also the enemy's firing position it can detect where it's been fired from, allowing the cruiser weapon inside of there to engage back, which it does have an RWS system to fire 12.7mm rounds right back at wherever that projectile came from. During Operation Protective Edge in 2014, Trophy intercepted multiple missile threats, proving its effectiveness on the battlefield, with battle-tested results being given back to Rafael Advanced Defense Systems to modify even further. The interior of the Namer is also built with safety in mind. It has non-flammable materials all over the vehicle, even with seats to the cushions to prevent fire spread, shock-absorbing seats which are suspended from the floor to reduce the impact of mine blasts, which are quite common, and an air filtration and NBC system allowing the vehicle to operate in nuclear, biological, or chemical warfare environments, more particularly, as you can see in this footage, dusty environments. It is very dusty in the environments these vehicles work in, particularly when they're operating alongside the infantry and having to stir up all that muck. It's just not enjoyable to have to pull up, dismount your troops, get all that dust that they've just delivered to inside the crew compartment. That filtration system is very important. It keeps comfort of the crew inside there really, really nice. Of course, the poor infantry that are dotting around outside just have to bear with it. It's not the infantry world, I guess. But how does it stack up against the world's other top-tier armored personnel carriers? Compared to the Russian T-15 Armata, the Namer does weigh more, but of course